And actually I talked about little bit on what are the different class structures it will be going to be created: framework layer, implementation layer, organization layer, and actually like this is required division or unit onto that. So yesterday it's like I missed one of the point called.
Priyanka, some background noise is coming. Can you please unmute yourself? Thank you. Mukesh, can you frequently check? Sometimes your screen is not moving. The slides are not moving.
Oh, okay, fine. Actually, I'll just take that out.
Okay, okay. Right then. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So just before moving on to the application creation, I just actually talked about two more bits on actually while creation of to the application. We have one advanced configuration also. So I'll just talk about that for 5 minutes, and then we'll continue with the our new application. So again, I'm logging with the new that our administrator at the rate of pega.com. So I'm not going to create a new application, and just actually I'm going to tell you about the preview part of it. So just we'll give some information onto that part. So the new application. So I'm just giving a dummy name now. Okay. So this is actually want to talk about configure advanced setting. Yesterday I couldn't tell you about that. So in the configuration, advanced setting is not because this is the basic settings we have got, and in the advanced configuration we have some more options actually where we can give what we actually like the framework name what you want to give. Okay, what is the framework version you are going to use, which project methodology you are going to use, are you going to use Pega BPM, Scrum, or other some methodology. And in the organization you can give the organization name, division, and unit name, and that also we can change it here. So if you say okay, like for our application we want to create any name actually of a cell, within that you want to that marketing as a unit, so that actually we can change from the advanced settings. So in that scenario it will be going to create organization division as name in that same the name. So the name also can be changed from the advanced configuration tab. And then this layers will be created, the implementation layer and the framework layer. And what will be the naming convention for the class? It's coming on to that. So that's actually like more onto that. And yeah, one more thing, you can see one more checkbox: generate reusable division records. So that I told actually like we can create multiple layers of class structures when we are creating an application. If you are going for to generate the division level as well, it will create one more structure layer of the reusable part, and unit also can be a reusable structure onto that. So if you are clicking in both, so it will be going to add. So if you can see in the implementation layer, now it added as a unit as well there. So I can save it, and it will be go back to the same application, and then we can go forward to create all other details. And then the preview we can see that the like it will be now 5 layers in the preview. So then in the preview, if you see now, it will give you the 5 layers. Actually, one application, division, unit, framework, and implementation. Yeah. So you can see that there are 5 layers it's created now. So if you have, like in that way, we can have multiple layers can be created into that. So it depends on the requirement. If you want more layers, it can be created into the application. So if we are not going to create the application because we have already created our application yesterday, so we'll continue with that. So this is just for information. I thought actually it will be good to know how to create other reuse layer during the application creation. So today actually we are going to talk about how that what the application is created, what is the content of that application. Okay, so I'm just logging it out from this user, and yesterday we have got 4 users, right? So actually we are going actually see. So we have created author at the rate of the organization name. So the organization name was we created as AP. So not sorry, it's not some. It's actually only that one, and admin at the rate of AP. So we need to log in with admin. Actually, if you want to design with Designer Studio, we need to log in with the admin at the rate of the organization. So when you log in for the first time, you will get a welcome message that your application is created and you can start. So that it will give you the overview of your application. So welcome to the new Pega application, and then it will give you whatever actually we have created as a prototype. The same information will be displayed here. So what is the case we have created? What is the different details? So here it's like we have actually requirement specification. So we can add as many as requirement specification here as well. So this is actually a read-only view of your. So the Scrum, business objectives, everything is what we have given onto the while creating the prototype. Same information we can get it from here. And there will be one more. Actually, you can see there will be. This is the same window when we are opening the Open Overview. So anytime if you want to look this window once again, we can go with the Open Overview of that. Yeah. And one more thing, actually, like if you want to log in with the one more, like if you see, Pega sessions works into in browser based. So if you want to log in with a different user, so you need to open a like private window, or actually in Chrome that is called as incognito window. Okay. So in that scenario, you can log in with multiple users at the same time. So here actually I'm just showing to you, if I'm logging with the author, so that will be going to open the Pega Express for me. So here again actually I'm going to give the link to start the Pega Designer Studio, and here again it will ask me for the login page. Okay. So here if I log in with author at the rate of AP, so for author, actually the default portal is Pega Express. Okay. So this is like you can see, this is the view of Pega Express portal. So here actually like mainly for business analyst and architect, they are going to use this portal only for designing of the case, different team management reports, everything can be done from here itself. So today we are not going to talk about the, because this is actually like Pega Express is only available from 7.1.9. So that is actually part of 7.2 certification, not with 7.1. So today actually we are going to see some more details, like on details onto that, how applications are created, how the different rules are created as part of new application. So if you see, you go to the app, okay, and then you can go for the top level of that. So like AP is our organization, so that will be the top level class of it. So if you click onto that, so it will give you the complete structure which is created by AP. Okay, so within that you have our application, the framework layer. Within that you have different classes. Okay. So just before discussing on that, I'll just give you some information about what is class. Okay, so some of the object-oriented concepts is required to understand Pega. So I'll start with that part. Okay. So Pega applications, okay, are actually it's mainly we say that it's a Java applications, and we use class for everything. Actually, like class is the container of everything. Okay, so main thing is we need to know about what is class. So if you are familiar with the object-oriented concept, it is really good to. It will be very good to understand Pega application, how the Pega application is structured. So normally class, if you can see, this is actually like an container. Actually, we say we have a shape. Shape is class. It's like as abstract thing. Within the shape, we have different type of shapes like circle, triangle, okay, square, rectangle. So they have actually like different type of shapes within the one class. So that's the property of one shape. So actually, like if you say everyone has some length, some actually like some property will be there in the top one, length, radius, or width, height. So that's the like everyone if you like depend on that class property. All rectangle, triangle will be have different property can be inherited from the class. So the main thing which actually like used from the object-oriented concept is called as inheritance. So there actually we have concept of actually all the parent class and child class. Okay. So but actually like how Pega provides the reusability. So that is the main concept is called as inheritance. So inheritance is something that there are some properties. Okay, some of the like parent class contain property 1, property 2. There are some methods to get radius, get area, all that. And in child class, you can use that property. So that like that can be inherited. All the properties of the parent class also can be inherited, and also child class can have more properties can be defined within it. So that actually we have inheritance. Okay. So in like in Java, we have only one inheritance that is called as directed inheritance. Okay, and Pega provides one more inheritance that is we called as pattern inheritance. Okay. So normal actually, if you see, you have a one class and you have design it like if you say like we have one class that is actually we say parent, okay, and then we design that as a parent to one more child class to it. So there actually like it say we have direct relationship between that. So we know actually who is the parent of it directly. But in case of pattern inheritance, it follows the naming convention. So what do you mean by naming convention? So actually just so in this, if you see one, the last, if you see everything, it's like if you can say whatever that you are seeing in this one is everything is one class. Okay. So if you say this is the time of, in the sysadmin, you can see the definition of it. So either you can right click of it and you can see the definition of that class. So if you right click onto that, the definition of the class will come. I just want to take the complete name of the class so that I can explain. Yeah, so if you see in the ID, the complete name of that class came out. Okay. So in this, you can see the name of the class is timeout, and then we have one more class in the work. Okay. and then we have one more class as time off. Okay, and then we have organization class as well. Okay, so actually what it actually does, so we have given this the name, and it's going to follow both directed inheritance and also pattern inheritance. So in case of pattern inheritance, it follows the dash symbol or a hyphen symbol onto that. So everything actually, if you remove the hyphen, it maps to a different class. And so if you are actually, if you are looking for a property in this class, if you're not able to find it here, it will going to find in work class. If it doesn't find in work class, it will going to find after the time of class. And if it is not find in this class, then it's finally going to find it in the organization level class. And if it is not find, after that there will be an error or warning will come onto that. So this is the like.
Actually, Mukesh, can you please explain? Can you please explain again? This is a bit confusing.
Sure. Yeah, this is because inheritance. This is more on little bit on technical front also, but yeah. So inheritance, if you see, I'll just give an example as well. Okay. So if you see, I have a property. I've given actually first name. Okay. And the first name lies in organization level. Okay. So the property which I have first name is lies in organization level now. Due to the reusability, I can use this first name directly in my time off or in work or in time off or any place. Actually, like all the child case which is inherited from this class, I can use this property. Okay. So I have an actually like I am using a rule here which uses this property. Okay. So what will happen? The property is not defined in this class. It is defined into the organization level. Okay. So when I'm trying to find this property, when I'm trying to save this rule, it will look for this property. So it will first look in this class itself. Okay. So if it is not find it here, it will move to the work class. Okay. And it will look for the same name of the property if it is exist in this class itself or not. And then finally, if it is not find it here, it will go to the time of class. And then if it is not find it to the time of class, it will go to the organization. In the organization, we have defined that property. So it will good to go. So it will like it's fine that and it's okay and it's valid to save that rule now.
Okay, Mukesh, is no structure as such. I mean, you can put whatever, wherever you want under organization or on one of those like that.
Sorry, Manoj, can you come again?
No, I mean like you put first name under AP, right? The organization. I mean, so you can put anything under that organization and then use it. Like it doesn't. Yeah. There's no restriction like that. Don't do that. It has to be more structured and don't do that like that or something. No.
Yes, Manoj. There is actually restrictions are there. It's like it depends on the reusability. So if you say I have actually like insurance. Okay. So if you want to give you one more example. So if you say it's like the motor. Okay. Okay. Before that, it's like okay. Okay, I'll give you one actually the slide. Okay, from that it will be give you more clear picture onto that. Okay, so just look into this slide. Okay. So actually like what we do, actually we build onto the framework. Okay, and we specialize onto the. So as you can see in this framework, okay, so you can see this is the layer. Actually like the base layer, actually all the rules which is divided by Pega and the framework. Okay, and there actually we have organization level framework. Then actually like we are going for an insurance, so we have a policy framework, and then what we did actually we have region-wise framework. Which is like there are some common things which is actually only applicable for UK. Some things are common for Singapore. Some things are common for USA. So there actually like we can have more frameworks need to be can be created, and then within that UK framework we have specialized the implementation layer like for a specific line of business like motor, travel, home, and pet. Okay, so same way, if you like, we will give you that as an example. So here, if you say like the vehicle, okay, I need the vehicle number. So this is like you can see this is very specific to motor itself. So in this scenario, we are going to define vehicle number into the motor class itself. Okay, and if you say one more field like organization or any policy label, so actually say policy number. Okay, so the policy number actually can be used in every place. So that I'm going to put into the policy framework. Okay, and if you say like in organization label, so actually if you say I want the customer, okay, customer can use the complete in the organization label. So I want to define the customer onto the organization label. Okay. So in this way, if you see, if in this scenario, I have actually one same way. So I have actually like different examples for it now. So if you say actually I have the company name INS, okay, within that I have framework as policy, okay, then I have work, and then I have your motor, right? So here you can see like if I look for vehicle number, I'll define that directly in this class. So that like it will not look for any below class of it. Okay. So now I click here, I'm using same policy number as well. Okay. So if you know it, like the policy number is defined into the policy label now. So in this way, what will happen? Like the policy number, it will going to find in this layer in the INS policy. So it will find. So it like and then it also uses the customer in this label as well. So the customer, actually when we are designing any rules, actually it's going to use the customer onto that. So that is defined in your organization label in the INS. Is it clear now?
Yeah, I got it, Mukesh. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Manoj. Yeah. So this is actually like this is the follow actually when we have to design the class structure. So this is actually the same example which I showed. So in this way, actually we can have multiple. So this is not limitation. The frameworks are actually can be multiples. So if you see actually like we have organization, policy framework. Within that, like policy framework can be actually solution framework as well. So if we have Pega defined frameworks, if you want to use, we can have in the policy framework there. And then because actually like insurance works in different segments, actually we have litigations for each country wise. So that country wise things actually we can put it into the each region wise also can be put as a separate layer. And then finally we can have the individual implementation layer of the specific insurance can come into that, and that specific rules can be part of that particular rule set itself. Yeah, so that's actually like the inheritance plays actually the major role because everything incident Pega is inheritance. If it is actually falls into the inheritance, we can able to use that. If it is not falls into the inheritance, we are not able to use that part as a view onto that part. Okay. So this is actually onto the class structure. And then
so Mukesh, what will not fall into inheritance because any framework before the previous one will automatically get into the framework, right? Like the up to the previous level, yeah, everything will be within inheritance.
Yeah,
like from the parent.
If you see, like if you're in your organization, you have claim as well, right? So insurance actually like doesn't go without policy. So if you have actually separate framework for claims, right? So in this scenario, you are going with INS claim separately. So whatever the things will be claimed, there will be, you can make dependency with the policy separately, but claims, if you see in this class, the motor, okay, and this is actually a separate class. So
Okay.
that one is like in a different class as well. So the policy is separate application, claim is a separate application. So in that, they will not fall into the inheritance path of it.
Okay, so that will be a different application altogether. Okay.
That's right. So,
So
we need
implementation layer is different, right? But that will be same application, but different regions
type.
we separate that into.
Yeah, that actually in Pega we
Okay.
call it different work types. So actually, like every type of business, actually motor is a different work type, home is a different work type within the implementation layer itself.
Okay.
So the claim will be created as a separate application. So in that scenario,
Okay.
both applications are actually can talk to each other with some other mechanism, not with the inheritance path.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Yeah. So now I'll talk about like what is the content of your see, actually like application I talked about, right? Everything is Pega in rules. Okay. So in Pega, if you say like we have different category of rules. Okay. So if you go into the record, you can see all the categories of the rules are there. Okay. Decision, UI, technical, security, okay, integrations. So how Pega define it, like what are the different rules? Okay. So in Pega, rules are associated with 4 different things. So if in a single rule, how you differentiate what is that rule? Okay. How that rules is lies in which level? Okay. So Pega provides a 4 context of any rule. So if you want to know about a rule, what is that? It provides you 4 context of it. That is to be called it. First thing is the ID. So that is the identifier for your rule. So that is really nothing but the name of the rule. Okay. And actually with that also is use one field called a PY label for a short description of for that field. Okay. So this is the first, the name of the rule, okay, and then it decides the type of the rule. So that is we call that what is the type class. So that is we define a class for that rule. So if you say it is a property, okay, or you say UI, for everything there is a defined, it is a defined meaning class. So for property, we have actually like we say the name of the class actually is followed in this way: rule obj property. Okay. The same way, actually, like you can see for the UI or sections, it will be like rule HTML sections in that way. So decision. So for each of the type of the rule, it created different class for it. So the rules is identified by the type. So the type is defined from the specific class of it. Okay. So there are different classes which define for each of the category of the rule. Okay. The next thing is called a applies to class. Okay. So applies to class is define the scope of your rule. So actually if you see, actually we have that I told, right? So here we have created that into the motor label. So that applies to class is INS policy work motor. For policy, it's actually INS policy. Okay, for customer, it will be INS. So in this way, we are designing that applies to class. So that defines the scope of it. So this will actually come into the later, actually, like, because at first point you will not able to get exact like how this was used and how this was that. Actually, like in the further classes, you will get to know about like how the rules are created and how we can define the scope of it. So that I'll discuss more into the further classes. And the final thing is that, so where exactly you are going to store the rules, right? So the applies to class define the scope. One thing is define the type of it. Another is define the name of it. So where you are going to store the rules. So for that, Pega provides a concept is called a rule set. Just 1 minute. Sorry. So the rule set is the container for your rules. Okay. So in the rule set, what we did is the main container. Actually, whenever we are creating a rule, we need to provide rule set. So where actually which version we are going to use. So that is the rule set is the final container of your rule. Okay, so that is if you say you have files, right? So where you store the files in folders. So folders is the naming of your rule set, where we are exactly storing the files. So rules are like files. Different files are there. So we are going to store all the files in a particular folder. So the rule set is nothing but the folder, the container of your rules. Okay, and rule set provides one more. So actually, we keep on changing our applications. So the rules need to be changed. So we need to provide the versioning. So with that, it's like the different rule set will be came with a different versions. So that we have, that is a concept is called as rule set version. Okay. So we in the rule set version we have major, minor, and patch. Okay. So the naming convention always follows in this way. If you say it's like rule set name is the same actually like if you claim, okay, and the major actually when we start for the application, the major start with 01, 01, and 01, and the complete always the rule set never comes alone. Actually, always it comes the attached with the rule set version. So it will be like that: claim, zero one, 01, 01. Okay, so it always follows the version with it. So actually, like if you the rule set actually if so if it is 01, which is the that is called patch, this is minor, and this is called as major. So what is actually difference between these three? We are just going to talk to you. So 01 patch. So if you say you have going to develop application, okay. So in that scenario, what will happen is it's like so multiple teams are working. So some team are working in different versions, some other functionality, some are working in different functionality. So where on that time during the development time we create different patches. So it will be 01, 01, 02, 01, 03. Okay. So that actually we can create onto that application. So it will be like 02, 02, 01. Sorry. 01 and 02. Okay. So normally we don't increase the major and minor frequently. Like for that is a different concept when we have to do increase the major or minor. Okay. So we first if we increase the patch and it varies from 01 to 99. Okay. So this is the main container of your rules. Okay. And rule set is also used for different purpose also. That actually first thing actually which I told actually used for versioning.
Mukesh, sorry to interrupt. Can you explain the difference between major, minor, and patch?
Yeah,
and
I'm
why
coming. Sure,
three?
Sona.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more actually want to know? I'll just explain. Going to explain that more. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that is like it's a container. Okay. For rules. Okay. And it also used for security because we can provide access to rule set or we cannot provide the access. So that actually also used for security as well. And finally, it is also used for deployment because that's the container of your rules. Actually, if you want to go for some other environment, we use this rule set only for deployment for other environment and all that. Okay, so that's the main rule of the rule set are application of rule set. Okay, yeah. So if you see patch, patch, right? Actually, I'll just come back once again. Patch. So when we are developing an application, so if we are working on different patches. Okay, so different functionalities are there. So one user is working in 0.1. Okay, then it is done. One functionality is done. So then it will be increase the. So Pega. Okay, before that. Yeah. So patch version, actually, why actually we need multiple patch version? So once actually, see, we are developing an application. Okay, we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 we can create. So exactly once we have developed one application, we log the rule set. Okay, so while locking, after the locking, we should not unlock the same rule set once again. So if you say you have started with 0.1, okay, we have created around 20 rules in it. Okay, and after that we log the rule set. Okay, and then we should not unlock it again. That rule set will be like final. Okay, and then we need to create one more patch after that to make more new changes into the application. So after that we created 0.2. Okay, then we are done with the 0.2. We have deployed that. We logged it. Okay, then we move into the 0.3. And if there are multiple teams are working, we can have multiple patches in parallel. So 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 can be exist into the same time. So what will happen if you like in Pega? If you are making changes into the same rule set, okay, some patches. So if you say you have increased to 0.1, 0.2 like that to 0.70, or like you have reached 99 itself, right? So after that you need to go for 0.2 version, right? In the minor. So minor, in that scenario, like Pega provided different functionality that we call it scheming. So that is not required for your role, because this is more onto the technical claim. So that is actually called as scheming of rule sets. Okay. So what exactly does that? So if you say in Pega there is a duplication. So like in the design of the Pega application, there is a lot of duplication happen of the same rules. So why actually how that happened? I'll just tell you now. So if you say I created an application, so get customer, okay. Okay. So in that version 0.1, I created get customer. Okay. And then I need to change that once again 0.1. Okay, and I log that now. Okay, I logged it. So I cannot make changes to the same rules once again. So if I go to the 0.2 once again, because there was some requirement that I need to get his SSN number into the UI. Earlier it was not there. So now I'm trying to get the SSN number. So I need to change the same rule once again. Okay. So I made the changes and then it was logged and it moved once again. Okay. After that, actually, there are some more requirements came in the same way. So we have made some changes again, and it's like I'm saying today now it's in 40. Okay, and actually again I made the changes, logged it. Okay. So yeah, so I made the changes. So if you can see now, normally if it's like I made 10 times changes out to that. So it will be copying the 10 times of the same rules will be there into the existing the previous versions. Okay, in 0.1 it will remain there, in 0.2 it remain there, in 40 it will be there, and if we keep on changing onto that, the same rules will be remain there into the rule sets. Okay, so it impacts the performance, because there is actually like in Pega there is actually we have I don't want to cover. I thought actually I'll do that later, but okay. So need to start.
So one second, Mukesh. So basically, rules are our requirements, is it, or what do you define?
No, rules are actual the implementation of the your part. So actually, if you say you have one decision rule, so that is like one UI, one section, so that is actually rule. Everything is rule into that. Requirements and specification, actually based on that requirement and specification, we are creating rules. So there is a property or variables, that is a rule. Okay.
So when you explained class, it also has specific properties, right? How would it differ from the type property, like class property and type property?
Okay, sorry. Type is a class, sorry. Actually, it's not property. Okay, type is defined. What is the type of that rule? It is a, what is the category of the rule? If you can see, there is the, which I showed you, right, here. So this is the different category of the rule, right? So from the type, we define what is the type of that rule. So if you can say we have the same name, okay, so if you say one name is called as PY default, okay, so PY default can be a property, PY default can be a UI, PY default can be a decision.
Okay.
So from the type class, we can define that, okay, PY default is a property or it's a UI or is a decision. The ID can be same for a rule. But from the type class, we can define that, okay, if this name is a property or this is a UI or this is a decision.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, we were now coming on to the different versions, right? Like, okay. So here,
this is actually same in every version. This concept
okay.
actually like from 5x, it's the concept is same for every version from this one. So this is the base of Pega. So when it is like Pega application is created, this is the base. Every version is same. So now in 7x it's same. So might in future 8x or 9x it will come. It will be same onto that.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So this is actually like everywhere it's same. This is the base information how the Pega rules are getting created. Okay. So there is one more concept actually like this is actually not required again. So rule registration actually we find that which rules I'm going to use. See, you have multiple version of the same rule. So which version I'm going to pick. So it's always pick the, in most of the scenario it picks the highest version and all the other lower versions always get ignored. Okay. So if you can see you have multiple version of the same rules are present. Also when we do the scheming or actually when we increase the minor, okay, or major, okay, we just pick the latest version from there. We don't use all other rules. All the other rules get not moved to now. So actually like in that scenario, if actually like people start with 01, 02, 01, okay. So this is like I did the scheming of the minor, okay. So in this scenario, only one version of the final version of rule will be get copied to here, and actually after that we make changes into the application rule so that it will be pointing to 01, 02 after only. All other lower version will be not used after that. So this is actually so this is actually like you need to it will take time to understand this little bit. So if you want to know, actually I can explain it once more.
Yeah, please. It's a bit.
In fact, Mukesh, I kind of got lost there. I mean, I got the version numbers and all that, but I was not. Probably I just lost little ahead. From the ID type class, I think that's from where I lost it.
Yes, actually, also actually don't want to cover this part at this moment, but yeah, some of the questions came into that, so I started working on this part.
Okay. Now, I mean, like what you are explaining on that, the one on the lines 46, 47, 48, the ID type class.
Yeah.
I kind of got a little confused there. I think I got the versions though, somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually versioning are actually like see for your role actually it's not required at all. It's
Okay.
just you need to know what is major, what is minor, and patch. That's actually you don't need to understand this bit of information.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Like for a business architect, what would be expected from us? Would we be creating all the rules?
Yeah, you just need to know this part. Okay, only that actually like okay, there is actually the rule set and rule set versions are there, and there should be unlock version should be there for you. This part is not required for you.
Okay, but this is the responsibilities with the solution architect to create this rule set, or is it
no,
the business architect?
It's the responsibility of LSA, lead system architect. Yeah.
So the business architect role is basically that DCO part, right? Like you know, requirement, specification, objective.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, actually
From
what
there,
objective actually one says that actually when you are creating one with working on Pega, because everyone will say about the rules, rule sets, okay, the class. So
correct,
if
yeah.
someone like LSA will, if you are talking with an LSA, they will talk about this only the concept, the terminology. So that's why actually I want to say that if you are actually going to work in Pega or while working in Pega, you should understand this terminology.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's why I'm going to explain this part onto that. So you don't need to understand how we do increase the major, minor, and patch part. So just you need to understand there should be one rule set versions are there. So there you can create your specifications or your requirements can be created onto the which version of the rule set.
Okay.
Mukesh, I know I'm just going to pull you back, but can you just quickly in a minute just explain one more time that ID, type class, and that scope?
Okay, actually what I do, this is also not required for your part. Actually, that is actually for explanation. I explain that. So actually, I'll go you here itself. Okay, so actually, what I'm going to do is, if you see one application, okay, in Pega itself, I'm going to explain that. So one actually, I'm going to open a rule. Okay, from there actually I will be able to explain you more better. So actually just say I have a rule which is called the flow rule. Okay. So which is defined into the implementation layer now. So if you can see at the top of every rule in Pega, if you see at the top of every rule, that is actually the information about a rule. Okay. So in that you can see this is actually shows that the type of the rule. So that actually says that the flow. Okay. So that is the type of the rule. And then you can see the time off. So the time off is the PY label. That is I told about this one, PY label short description. Okay. So here we're going to display about the short description. And there is one ID which is defined the name of it. Okay. So the PY state case is the ID for that rule. Okay. And time off is the description about that rule. And then this is the applies to class. So we have this, the scope of the class is the application can be used within this class itself or all the child class only, not onto the parent class. And finally, we are going to store this rule into this rule set. So that is we have a rule set is time of 01, 01 and 01. So every rule actually when we are trying to create a rule, so if you say I'm going to create a rule now, okay. So if you say actually just for any rule, if you say same actually I want to go to the flow rule. So if you click onto the flow rule, it will ask me the 4 details only. First, actually it will ask you for the label and actually identifier will become with that the same one, okay. And then it will ask you for the which class. So type is actually like we are defining from directly the flow. We are going to create a flow. So type will be decided from that, and then we decide the type, which identifier we are going to pick, and which class applies to class we are going to pick, and finally which rule set we are going to save that rule. So that's actually the 4 configuration of any rule comes into the picture of Pega. So is it clear now, Manoj?
Yes, somewhat better.
Yeah, actually these things comes actually like when you start like some of the rules actually like are prepared by PA role. So actually I'll tell you about that when you need to create some rules in Pega application. There are some rules which require some modification from your end. So that might you need to know about how to create or edit a rule. Okay, so just for understanding, I'll just explain this one actually for a rule, how to create a rule, how to modify a rule in Pega. So this is the same way. For that, with the 4 things is needed. This will come into that later point of time when which applies to class we should give, which rule set we are going to use. So that will come onto the later class. So at the first point, it will be little ambiguous to understand that part. So we'll cover that part.
Mukesh, just one question. In the Explorer panel, when you opened it, right? So we initially
Yes.
started with the application.
That's right.
And what does the leaf symbol denote? Like,
This is all class. Okay, so the leaf symbol,
Okay.
all efficiency, there are different classes.
okay.
So actually,
But AP is the application name, right?
so if you see actually in AP, as you can see now, AP is an organization class at the top level.
Okay, okay.
So data is a class. So within that you have more things within come. So if you say an employee, we can see one more class is there. So sysadmin is not a class. Okay, within that you have category of rules. So if you see within the time off, you can see whenever you are seeing a leaf, that is a class.
Okay. And within the class, decision, sysadmin, all that is a rule, is it?
Right. Within the class, we define different rules. Actually, if you need any property or any method or any rules, we are going to create within the context of that class.
Okay. Yeah, now it makes sense. And then whatever we discussed now, all the ID, all that is the sort of the property of that particular rule, specific to that, like the 4 identifiers.
So essentially, now actually what actually okay. So if you see, I'm going to create a new flow. So if I'm creating class, so depend on the applies to class, it will be visible here. Okay, so actually see, I'm creating a flow 1. Okay, and I'm giving the class actually this one. Okay, time off. So I just want to create in the time of work now. So if you see, if you get down here, so actually just going to create into the flow 1 into this class. Okay, and actually I'm going to use the same rule set. Okay, time of 0101, and I just create an open onto that. And I saved it. So this is the one normal flow which is created as its test flow. Okay. So now you can see actually currently there is no category within the time of work. Okay. So here you can see in the work there is no subcategory of flow, right, process. So if I rephrase that, it will be going to create a new category, and within that there is a new flow which we have created. So I did the rephrase. Okay. So in the time of work, okay, so you can see now there is a process category is now newly created, and within that process category, a new rule flow 1 is created. Okay, so the applies to class decide where actually we are going to create that rule. So within the class context, so if you are giving the applies to class, so it's created within that class now. So if you are going to create in the time off, so you need to give the class context of time off. So that provides the reusability. So actually, like, are you going to create that in the framework layer, implementation layer, or organization layer? So that actually provides the scope of it. So that it will be a tell that applies to class. So it's clear now? Yeah.
Yeah, better. So if we have to mention the child class in the applies to, we have to start from the parent class and go towards the child class. Is it in terms of naming?
Yes, that's right. Actually, like, see, if you want to create in something in the organization, you just need to give the organization class name. If you want to create something onto the framework layer, so you need to give the framework class name. So this is the framework class name, APFW. So you need to give the APFW organization framework class. So that will be going, the rules will be going to be created into that class itself. So actually, don't bother about this one. Actually, this is not required that much for your role. So this is actually just for information. I can just give you that overview of before creating anything. I just give you an overview of what is rule, what is rule set, what is class. So there are some other technical. So that is just for information. You should know about the initial class structures. So you should know about what is the different layer, organization, mainly like division, framework, and your implementation class layer. Okay, and then within that, like mainly like how we go for inheritance. So there are two inheritance, directed and pattern. So how we can see that also, it's actually good to know that. So if you click onto the time off, you click on right click, you can see the inheritance. So here you can see that it's actually following the pattern, and if it is both means actually it's following both directed and pattern inheritance into that. So in this way you can see that AP time off is coming from AP, and then actually like it was directed inheritance from work dash cover dash. So that actually it's cover for both. So the complete inheritance path we can see from there. So if you see, if you go to the bottom of the class, so within the time off, you can see the more structure of the same. So in this, if you can say time off, so it is coming of the work is coming from time off, and that is coming from organization. And then directed inheritance comes into the picture. So first pattern inheritance comes into the picture, then directed inheritance comes into the picture. So that is like just for, it's not part of the initial any certification material. So that this is for information, actually like what are the different building blocks of Pega application, rules, class, and how to create a different rules. Okay, and what is the main thing you should know about the structure, the framework layer and implementation layer onto the class structure.
What was the directed inheritance you said?
Directed inheritance is the normal, actually when we define direct parent class to it. So if you say one class is A and we are deciding that parent would be B of that. So this is that the parent child relationship directly. So this is one more advanced concept of only thing is like the OOPS concept of it. So that is so Pega provide pattern inheritance. Pattern inheritance is not there in other languages. It's only available in Pega. So in case of directed inheritance, we just give the who will be the parent of that class. So directly we are inheriting, deciding that. So there is no naming convention. Any class which we want to be provided as a parent to that child, we can give that class directly. So if you see any class definition, okay, so just this one, okay. So if you see in the class definition, you can see here. So there is in the class inheritance, okay, we define two type of inheritance. So this is we are defining that as a parent class to it, and also we are defining by the checkbox as a pattern inheritance as well. So in case of pattern inheritance, it will be going to follow the naming convention, and also for directed, it's going to inherit property from this class as well. Is it fine, Manoj?
The one that you just showed, it's showing both pattern and directed together, like one below the other, right?
Like,
under class inheritance.
Yes, actually we can have both inheritances together. Actually, it's not that one inheritance is possible. At the same time, we can have both inheritance. So actually, from first, actually like pattern inheritance is you can say it's optional. Directed inheritance is compulsory. We need to define a class. If we are defining any class, we need to give the parent class to it. So directed, both inheritance actually so what the basic concept actually like the inheritance is, from the directed inheritance, it inherits the property of the Pega applications. Whatever Pega is provided to the work class, data class, anti class, all are Pega provided class. So from directed inheritance, we inherit all the properties and everything from the Pega's defined classes. And from the pattern, we follow the business logics. So if you see in this, actually we are following the naming convention into the organization level. So there, mainly like we are following the organization level business logics are getting inherited. Okay, and so from the directed, we are inheriting the Pega provided features. So there both ways we are getting the inheritance. So we are getting from directed all the Pega provided functionality, from pattern all the business logics getting inherited to the implementation layer.
Okay, yeah, got it.
So the pattern is the organization one, and the other one is the Pega structure one. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's right. Directed inheritance actually like provide the all the Pega provided features onto that. So if you say most of the time we use work, okay, or data, most of the time we use the parent class for the same purpose to inherit the Pega provided functions that actually we normally call as OOTB, out of the box functionality. So that is the Pega terminology we use for that. If it is Pega provided features, we call it out of the box functionality, OOTB. So that is actually mainly covered by the directed inheritance.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And for the business logics, we follow the pattern one. Also, it's not that it will always be like in business also, like for some of the inheritance, we use the directed also there. If we are using the framework, so in case of framework, it use the because actually like that framework layer we need to inherit. So in that scenario, we give the business logic layer of the framework layer as well. So there are some scenarios we use pattern inheritance for both scenarios. Hope it's clear now, Manoj.
Yeah, I got much better. It's still kind of a a little bit of smoke is there, but I think it may clear out slowly.
Yeah. Actually,
being new to it, I'm just getting a little confused here and there, but that's okay. I think I should get it, as we go along.
That's right, Manoj. Actually, like first, like if you see some of the things are actually how Pega works are into that. Actually, I cover started with that, so little bit required some more gap onto that because that need to be fill up. Like the gap need to be fill up onto the remaining classes. So that the remaining classes, all the things will be like more clearer onto that.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Okay. So now we are done with the today. So we're going to continue tomorrow. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Mukesh, just a quick question. In the material that you gave us, right, like first 2 to 3 days, how do we go through it? Like I found a lot of material, so I didn't know how to start.
See, actually, like in that, actually, like many things are there. Actually, like you see, one of them like as a glossary. So that if you like in the like as a need basis, you can use that. Okay. And two of the node TXTs are there. Okay. There actually like just whatever actually I'm covering up. So the most of the text that things are there. Whatever covering overview of that. Okay. The main document which I given was the building blocks. So that actually like you need to read that one. Only that document is required to read to understand the initial introduction about the Pega.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So only like concentrate on that document. Another thing, the installation document is there. So once you get the software, you can read that document. And the CPPA 1 and 7.1 and 7.2, that is actually like the blueprints of the certification. So that is like required, I think, end of the course when you want to start preparing for certification.
So Mukesh, which document you said focus on now? I missed that.
Building blocks.
Building blocks.
Oh, building blocks. Okay.
Yeah, case management, BPM and case management. Within that, there is 45-page document is there.
Okay.
So that actually you should focus onto that one document only.
Okay. Other things that like installation and certification, we can come to that later. So okay.
Yeah, that thing actually like I just given onto the initial one, so that you can give when we get the software, you need to go with the installation document, and certification document I just given for the initial bit onto that, so that you can get to know what are the blueprints all talk about the certification. So that also you can refer it later.
Okay. So we are done for today? Okay.
Yeah, we are done for the day. So we'll meet tomorrow morning again. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashok, I will send you an email now with the numbers
Okay, sure, sure, Manoj.
Yeah, please add me to the WhatsApp. I'll send you my number in the email now.
Okay, sure, sure. Yeah, I will do that.
Oh, please add me to Shiv.
Okay, okay, sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
I will.